Creators and community are so important when it comes to marketing your game, especially around your big marketing beats like releasing your demo and participating in things like Steam Next Fest. But how do you get creators involved with that process? How do you keep your community alive? And how do you even get traction to begin with? Yesterday I spoke with Jarvs Tasker, the head of comms at Happy Volcano and wearer of many hats. They're working on factory automation game Modulus, if you don't know it, and she really knows her stuff. What came out of that conversation is a masterclass in marketing your game, and I really cannot emphasize that enough. We cover what you should be doing in the weeks running up to Next Fest, like right now, what you should be doing during the week of Next Fest, and what you can be doing in the days and weeks after on the path to your launch. And there's a whole bunch of stuff there. We talk about the most common indie game marketing mistakes. We talk about how to really utilize creators and community without being transactional. We talk about how you can use Steam itself to get the most discovery out of it, and when not to use things like Reddit ads, social media, and so much more, to be honest. The really juicy stuff is about an hour in, so do watch past the 20-minute mark. Anyway, if you have any questions for Jarvs, leave them down below. She's going to be watching the comments and answering your questions. But make sure you watch the video first, because we've probably already answered it. Alright, now that's enough from me. Let's get on with the conversation with Jarvs. Now we'll ask Jarvs to introduce herself and maybe, just give a quick introduction and a little bit about why we should be listening to you when it comes to marketing games.
Fair. Hi, I'm Jarvs. Some of you will know me, some of you won't. I am currently head of communications, writer and accessibility lead at Happy Volcano, which is a small indie studio based in Belgium. As most of you who are indie devs will know, you wear many hats when you work in indie. But my main hat is head of communications. And I actually did a little count yesterday because I was working on my own portfolio because I'm doing a website, which is fancy. And I actually realized that I have now worked on 22 launch windows of a game. So 22 games launched, 7 I've worked on their pre-launch campaigns in addition to that, and then another 11 I've worked on their post-launch campaigns. So it's safe to say I have worked on a lot of games. All of those are on Steam. Some of them are also on console, but that's why I'm here talking about Next Fest, because I have done Next Fest quite a lot over the years. I have failed sometimes, learned some hard lessons, done a lot of research, done a lot of talking to other people, and feel like I have finally got Next Fest under my sort of tool set now, and I know what I'm doing with it. And I think the best thing indie game devs can do is help each other. So I like to do these sorts of talks to give back, because I definitely learned a lot from other indie devs. So it's good to give back to other people.
Amazing. Yeah, so you're head of comms, and what does that really mean? You're wearing many hats. You are doing community and creators and social media a bit as well, probably.
Yeah.
Does anything else that is in that remit of head of comms?
Anything marketing. Basically. So we have a publisher, but before we signed with this publisher, anything was basically on me. So I've done everything from festival applications to the Next Fest prep to all the Steam posts to influencer outreach to PR. Basically anything that falls under marketing is my job. So some of that is the community side of things, some of that is, talking to creators and everything else like that. And all of the little things that go on behind the scenes, like signing deals with brands for cross promotion and everything like that, basically. Anything that you can think of in the marketing window.
That really is everything. And we're so glad to have you here to talk to us about Next Fest, because it sounds like you've been through the ringer with that a few times, and you seem to know your stuff. So yeah, that's great. What have you been up to today and this morning, Jarvs?
Yeah, we just launched a playtest today. So the game we're working on right now is called Modulus. It's a factory automation game with a bit of a twist. It's more focused on creativity and relaxation than it is on kind of like Factorio, where you have to actually defend your factory and survive and things like that. We don't have any of that. There's no enemies, no timers. It's just chill out and create. And we launched a playtest today in our Discord, private one. And yeah, it's been an all systems go kind of day. But it's gone really well. So coming out of that day, feeling really positive. People have had lots of nice things to say, which is lovely.
Amazing. Yeah, great that you have got people coming in, and clearly you're marketing well to have people come in and say nice things. So yeah, I'll get started with some questions now. So let's assume a lot of the audience are indie devs. A lot of the Impress audience are indie devs. and they're here because they're looking to learn about NextFest. Where should people be with their marketing at the moment?
Yeah, so Chris said this last week, and I'm going to reiterate the exact same thing. NextFest should be the last thing you do before launch, as like a celebration of all your marketing efforts at the end, basically. It should not be the first thing you do. So if you are in this NextFest, it should be the last possible one before your launch date. And you should have already, been working on knowing who your audience is, reaching out to them, building up your Steam page, getting it to a good place. Your demo should already be out really by now if you're entering the next fest. So yeah, definitely already in the swing of things.
And is it a problem for people if their demo isn't out and they don't have that many wish lists? Should people consider not taking part in this next fest, or should they? What should they be thinking?
Yeah. So, again, very similar to what Chris said next week, but your demo, you really want to get out well in advance of Next Fest so that you have time to listen to feedback, you have time to bug fix, you have time to optimize, and any of the little things that the community noticed that you didn't think about, for example, because you haven't been able to play test your game much yourself, you get all that ironed out before Next Fest. Because when you get to Next Fest, you want your demo to be in the best possible position it can be in, and it not already have going through those sort of, I guess, checks and balances of people actually using it isn't the best place to be in by the time Next Fest launches. But launching it now, at least like 4 weeks, is it like 4 weeks we've got, maybe 3 weeks now, that can be a head start if you can get it now. But I would suggest postponing until the next Fest if you're not already at that point. You want to be in your best possible position.
Yeah, so it's either don't rush it or your game's bad and you should ship it and move on. That's the two paradigms that we've got here. But
pretty much.
How do you know if your demo is good? Like, what makes a good demo?
So that I read, like when you wrote that question, I read through it. I was like, well, that very depends on what type of game you're making, right? Because demos for different genres do very different things. But this is why you want to get it out and get it tested, is that if you put your demo on its own page, you can get reviews from your demo. And those reviews are usually pretty brutally honest, and they will tell you exactly what they love and exactly what they don't love about that demo. And that's why getting one up early is really useful, because you might have thought, oh, this is a great slice, this shows off exactly what I want it to. But the audience who doesn't have the context of the rest of your game design and the rest of your story or the rest of your idea, doesn't have that knowledge that you have, might not have the same experience you think they're going to have. So getting a demo up earlier and getting those reviews, or doing a private playtest of your demo in your Discord, for example, or with not your friends and family, but a group of people that play games. Not your friends and family, because they're just going to blow smoke and then they're not going to give you the feedback you need, but people that like the genre that you're working on. Get that feedback early and tune that demo based on that feedback. You can also cheat a little bit by looking at other demos in your genre space and looking at their reviews, because if they were sensible, they put it on their own page rather than on the main game page, and they will have reviews, and you can look through that and look at the negative reviews, because most of the time when people leave a negative review, it's usually because they actually care and they want the game to be better. And they will be the ones that will tell you the most about what you don't want to do in your demo. So go and be nosy on other people's reviews and see what they've got in there, because they're like gold nuggets for what you need to avoid and what you need to make sure you do in your demos.
Yeah, they can almost give you a second opinion on your game. Like, you might think this one aspect of your game is really cool, but they point out like another thing that's like, you hadn't even considered this is like the main thing that you should be talking about to promote the game, and you don't know that until you actually get people testing it, and it's so important.
100%.
You get people testing it.
We had a very similar thing happen with Modulus, which really made me laugh. So I joined the project in March last year, and we put out our demo right at the beginning of April, and Antoine, who's our art director, made me laugh so much, because we have a creative mode in our game. It's not in the current demo, but it was in the previous demo. And he completely didn't comprehend what the community was going to do with that creative mode. He just thought they were going to like test out factory layouts and like plan what they want to do in the campaign. Oh, no. They completely started making pixel art masterpieces in a factory. And like, as the art director, he was like, I had no idea people were going to make art in our game. Like, that just makes me laugh. But that's what they did. They took it off on their own, and creative mode became its own thing where they make voxel sculptures, pixel art, world maps, QR codes that link you to the store. Like, the community blew us away. And none of us were expecting that. So it changed our marketing massively based on that.
That must give you some really good content to share wider and get more people in to like use that creative mode. You know, people love Minecraft for its creativity and things you can do in it, and having a casual game like yours that doesn't have the enemies, it really allows people to lean into that creativity.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm literally using screenshots that the community sent in right now in my creator outreach. I'm like, look what you can do in this game based on stuff that they made, because I am not creative enough to make that stuff myself, but they are, so it's awesome. It's really good.
Probably get some pixel artist professionals coming in, and maybe you can hire some of them to show off what's possible, maybe perhaps. Anyway, I want to ask my next question, which is around what indies get wrong when it comes to marketing. Like, what do you think the most common stumbling blocks are? And this can be more general rather than specifically for Next Fest.
So I think two major areas that I will focus on for this answer. One is your store page, and this is something that I literally do a whole 3-hour seminar on, so I have to try and find a way to cut this down and keep this brief. But your store page is not a one and done. You need to treat it like a living thing that you go back to and you iterate on and you work on and you change based on the Steam backend and based on the click-through rate and everything you can see happening back there. Chris's How to Market a Game blog has some really good stats on and benchmarking on click-through rate and things like that. So I really recommend going and looking at that. But your store page, once you've done it, don't forget about it. You need to keep evolving it. Especially a lot of indies will make the store page right at the beginning and then they won't change it again. And then they launch, and actually what they've got on the store page doesn't represent what the game has become 6 months, a year later after they've done it. And it doesn't do justice to what the game is now. And I think that's really, really important. We are constantly iterating on the modular Steam page, constantly. We literally have just redone the gifts for it today that will be changing soon, and the key art as well. So there are so many things you can do to improve your store page. And then the other thing is, don't rely on social media as your only marketing tool. It used to be that you could use Twitter and TikTok and all of the others and drum up a lot of interest, and that would be enough. It's not anymore. It doesn't work like that. Twitter is a hellhole now, and a lot of the indie game market have left it and are now on Blue Sky instead, or just not anywhere. Also, it's very dependent on genre. For example, the factory automation audience is not on social media. They just don't exist in that space. Toby, who is the creator of Shapes is one of the most well-known factory games out there. It's smashing it in early access. Shapes 2 is. Shapes 1 did really, really well. Even his posts does not do very well in terms of engagement on social media, because that's not where the audience is, right? So a lot of indie devs are like, oh, I'm posting on social, so I'm doing marketing. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not, because you're just posting on social, and that isn't what you need to be doing. Your actual core platform is the platform you're selling on, which is Steam, and you need to be taking advantage of the community on Steam and utilizing that a lot more. And I don't think enough indie devs are really doing that in that way that they could be doing.
Yeah, that's something I'm always banging on about as well. The Steam page is such a big asset. Your trailer is obviously the number one thing in your store page that people see when they're going through their discovery queue and whatnot. But the whole thing is a package. People rarely update their tags when they should update their tags, every marketing beat, or when a big competitor comes out and things like that. And people just neglect it because they're dedicated to their vision of what the game is, and they are listening to their community in terms of their roadmap, but you get that sort of drift between the Steam page and the actual game, like you say.
Yeah, 100%.
And then when it comes to social media, which we will talk about that a bit later, but you mentioned Blue Sky and X Twitter. X is going down, Blue Sky is going up. But I'm going to insert a question here about like short form video. Like, does it still depend on what the audience is for the game, or is there more success for that generally?
There is more success generally. Really, if you can understand what works on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram to a lesser extent, but mostly TikTok, you can really make that work for you. Again, it can be genre specific because some things just look better on video, right, than other things do. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because if your game doesn't have the right aesthetic, it can't capture visually what it can do. Gameplay, for example, it's really hard to show that in a video. So I don't know, for example, Mega Bonk is absolutely incredible. The core gameplay loop of that game is amazing. Everything plays it, absolutely hooked, loves it. If you just saw it, it looks a little bit like PS1 graphics and it doesn't necessarily bring people in, but it actually works so well with that game. But without that gameplay loop to show, it's very hard to show that in a short form video, right? But other games that can rely more heavily on aesthetic or funny things or something quirky, if you've got a hook that you can exploit essentially in a short form video, do it. It does make a difference. And don't be afraid to try it if your genre hasn't succeeded before. Again, coming back to Factory, but the factory automation game dev accounts have not done very well on TikTok. There's a couple of like creators that do well with satisfactory content and things like that, but in general, it's not a thing that exists there. We started doing videos and we got 1 to 1.1 million. Like, so you can do it. You just have to spend time understanding it and making it work.
Do you think it's worth, if you do have a game that doesn't represent well visually, of not tweaking the game design, but like extra controls in the game that can, adjust the angles of things and show the art in a better dynamic that doesn't represent the gameplay? Or is that kind of lying to people?
It depends on how you angle the video, right? Because if you're doing, because one topic that does quite well on TikTok is game dev. So like behind the curtain type stuff. But it doesn't necessarily translate to wish lists.
That's marketing to other game devs, isn't it, really?
Yeah. So you might get a lot of views on a video, which is brilliant in terms of exposure. But if that audience doesn't then go over to your store page and wishlist your game or follow your game, download your demo, it's kind of a waste of time. So you shouldn't be chasing views. You should be watching for click-through rate. And if you have like 800 people watching a video, but all of them go over and wishlist your game, that's way better than having 100,000 and only like 20 of them wishlist your game, right? So it's all about watching that back end of Steam, using unique trackable links so that you can see where your traffic's coming from, and keeping an eye on what's working and what's not. Don't waste your time chasing views. You want to chase the click-through rate. That's the most important thing.
That's a really good point, and I'm really glad you've highlighted that, because, I mean, even me, I chase likes sometimes and don't focus on the conversion. I mean, it is what it is. Numbers go up, dopamine goes burr, etc. But you've got to not focus on that and almost detach yourself, and that's very hard to do, I suppose, for if you're working on something by yourself and you're getting excited because you feel like something's happening, but it's not really happening as much as you think it is.
Yeah. It's hard because it is really exciting when you see a high view count. You're like, yay! And then you look at your Steam, you're like, Steam, that was not worth it. But
So if you're an indie and you haven't done any creator outreach yet, is that a problem? And is now a good time to be doing creator outreach? If not, let's just talk about creator outreach for a bit.
Yeah. So this is going to come back to what Chris said last week again. I'm going to keep referring to Chris because I follow Chris and I watch Chris and I use his events ping in his Discord and all these sorts of things. Like, he's great. He always says, if your game's not good, it doesn't matter, right? And that's the same. If with creator outreach at this point, if you've got a good game, reaching out at this point is still worth doing. Like, if your game is good and people like it and the feedback has been great and you're getting, somewhere between 100 and 1,000 wish lists daily, then reach out to creators now. You have time. Do it now. Don't wait until next fest, because creators believe it or not, have a schedule and plan what they're going to be playing in advance most of the time. So if you leave it too late, your game won't get a look in. But if you contact them now, then you have a few weeks beforehand to hopefully hook them and to get them interested. I'm currently doing a lot of creator outreach, not just for NextFest, but for launch. But part of that is to reignite interest in the demo, because we put our demo out ages ago, right? It came out in April the 7th, I think. So it was nearly a year ago at this point. We did, however, do a massive demo update in December, like a huge update to it in December. And I believe there's going to be a smaller update coming out just before the next fest as well. And so I'm using that to get people who have already played it on stream or who have already done videos about it. I'm getting those back in now, being like, hey, our demo has been updated. Come back and have a look at it. Which again, Chris said last week, if you have put your demo out in advance and you have listened to your feedback, that's a marketing beat. You can go out and contact people and be like, hey, we listened. This is what we've done. And it entices them back to try it again. If you haven't had people try it before, then you need to be contacting creators that are already playing that genre or are already playing it. If yours isn't like a very genre specific, if it's more of a general indie game that like you're expecting variety players to play, for example, then fine, contact variety players. If you're a very genre specific game, like a Souls-like or a factory game or something that requires like knowledge of the genre and enjoyment of the genre to sell, then contact those players specifically. Do your research. Look on things like Twitch Tracker, look on Twitch itself, look on all of these different places, use hashtags to see what people are making videos about, and find those people, because you need to be reaching out to them. I will tell you, the worst and most tedious thing in the world is looking for email addresses of creators, because most of them don't put their emails in somewhere, and if they do, they have it on YouTube, and you can only look at a certain amount of those a day. So have fun with that, because it's super fun, guys. But yeah, definitely be doing it.
Yeah, there's a few things to address there. I think the first is, if this is the first time you're reaching out to creators, then perhaps this next fest is not the one for you. You want to have that relationship long term. Like you said, your demo was out almost a year ago. You're re-engaging people every couple of months, or whenever your demo is updated, or whenever your marketing beat is happening. You've probably got relationships with those people now. Email chains, that's super important. The thing about targeting, yeah, you've got to get the target right. And then the thing about email addresses, well, here at Impress, we might have a thing for that very, very soon. So you no longer will have to search and only get 5 YouTube emails a day. But I will keep you all updated on that pronto.
Yes, please.
Make sure you're signed up on the site, and you should apply for Launchpad. And yeah, we'll get that news out to you as soon as we can.
One thing I will say: don't only reach out to big creators who have agents, because most of the time they're not going to play the smaller games they've never heard of in the first place. Let's just be honest, they're not. They're going to play the ones that have the most interest, because that's what their audience cares about, right? You will get the occasional bigger streamer who will be like, yeah, okay, I'll try it. You want to be reaching out to small and mid-sized streamers as well, because the more people playing it and the more it's on Twitch, the more the other streamers will see it and also want to play it, and it's like a domino effect, right? Also, mid-sized streamers tend to have a more loyal audience, in terms of if a streamer is honest and they really like a game, that audience is more likely to go and check it out than a streamer who is doing a sponsored stream for a massive audience when they know they're being paid to do it, because you have to say when it's sponsored. They're less likely to go over and wishlist that game. A mid-sized streamer who got a free key but isn't being paid to do it and actually likes your game, that audience is more likely to go over and wishlist it. So don't just reach out to the big guys. I've so many indies make that mistake where they like save all of their creator money and just give it to like Northern Lion or like someone massive, and then they miss out on all that wonderful exposure of the mid-size and smaller streamers.
What do we consider a small or mid-sized streamer?
Mid-size for me is basically anyone over 100 CCV. So if they've got 100 CCV as a base, that's around a mid-size streamer. That's how I judge it, because that 100 people really care what that streamer has to think. Anyone under that is a small streamer. For Modulus, we are reaching out to tiny streamers as well, because if they like our genre and they like the factory games, then the user-generated content is worth like its weight in gold, whether they've got 9 viewers watching at the time. If I can clip something they've done and use it on TikTok later, doesn't matter if they had 9 viewers watching it, because now 100,000 people are watching it, right? But also it's about that sheer amount of people playing your game. If you've got the keys to give, don't gatekeep them. Give them to the smaller streamers as well, because everyone starts out somewhere and they will remember you when they're bigger and you were one of the first to give them a key. Next time you've got a game that you want to show off, they're more likely to show it off for you if you trusted them when they were small as well. It's give and take.
Yeah, such a good point. I mean, supporting the smaller creators with a free key is something that I'm always advocating for. And, you know, we're kind of, not to keep plugging Launchpad, but we're building Launchpad kind of around the idea of smaller streamers rather than the big ones.
Yeah. We had such a beautiful thing happen last week. So again, I've been going in and looking at other factory streamers. So people who currently are playing Alchemy Factory, for example, because it recently came out. And I went into a small channel. Guy had like 5 people watching him. He was lovely, really wholesome, really enjoying what he was doing. I asked for his email address, sent him a thing that night to say, hey, we got a demo out. Would you like to join our creator program? Next day, went back. He was streaming our demo and he kept saying such lovely things that I clipped it and put it in our Slack channel. And then all of the devs piled into the chat and he was like blown away that he had developers in his chat, which was lovely, because that's something very small you can do, by the way, is just being on a developer login and going into someone's stream. They really appreciate that, But then he said something nice about a big creator that we work with called Bits, who's really quite big in the factory space. And I clipped that and sent it to Bits, and then Bits turned up in his chat and Guy lost his mind. He was like so blown away that this streamer that he watches was in there, and he went and got all of his community to come. And this guy had never had a hype train before, and he got to a level 7 hype train because of Bits' community. It was the most wonderful, wholesome thing. And as someone who works with influencer outreach, you don't get that sort of wholesome, wonderful moment with the really big guys. It was just, I'm going to remember that for the rest of my career. I think it was just beautiful.
That's really cool. I don't really know what a tier 7 raid is, so I don't spend too much time watching Twitch streams, unfortunately.
I live on Twitch, it's a problem.
Or fortunately. Yeah, I mean, do you advocate joining the streams like in the first few minutes if you're, if you have the dev tag on your Twitch handle? Do streamers really like that?
Even if you don't, if you just say, hi, I work on this game, you don't have to have the tag, you just say who you are. They really appreciate that. I use the Happy Volcano account and I spend a lot of time going into people's chats. Even if they're not streaming our game, if they're just streaming a factory game, I just go in and hang out so they get to know the name of the studio, for example. And I doesn't mean I have to chat a lot. I'll just have it up on my second monitor while I'm doing like 50,000 other things. But occasionally I'll hear them say something and I can comment on it, and then they'll remember Happy Volcano. So when I do email them, they're like, oh, they were in my chat. Let's check it out. Because otherwise you're just a random email going into their probably thousands of keys that they get sent a month, So that sort of thing. It's time consuming, but you can have it on in the background and, jump in and out. And it does make a difference. They really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's very, very wholesome.
But yeah, that's really valuable, is looking at who's playing games similar to you. That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah, cool. So, when we get round to the creator emails, I mean, what do those look like? How do you, if you're approaching a creator for the first time, what does that email look like?
For me, it is always better to show that you actually know who you're emailing and it's not just a copy and paste email that goes out to everybody. If you do that, you will get less responses if you just copy and paste it. Not gonna lie, I have a section of the email that is copy and pasted. So the information about the game, links to the demo, links to the creator program, that bit is the same. But I make sure that every single person that I have emailed knows that I have actually checked out their channel and I have actually watched what they do. I know who they are, and that takes time. I'm not going to lie. It's not a quick thing, but if you want the best kind of results, that's what you need to do, is to show that you actually know who you're talking to. And it works. It really does work, because we're getting some really big factory players respond to us now. And that's because I have literally taken the time to go and watch their content. I have seen what they do, how they do it, who they collaborate with, what their community cares about. And I'm able to actually write an email that's personal based on that. And I can tell you it works because previously, when we had someone doing stuff for us beforehand, they were sending blanket emails and getting no response from the exact same people. I have sent individual emails to those people and they have responded within days. Like, so it makes the world of difference to be personal there. Have your copy and paste bit to save your time, but also make sure you're doing that little bit extra personal touch because it really does make a difference.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like, I see some people, they plonk a load of emails into MailChimp and blast that out, and unfortunately what will happen is that will go into like the promotions tab spam. If it's a Gmail address, or spam ultimately. You really can't remove that human element from creator outreach.
Even your subject line, like, it matters. It really matters. And you can't predict what people's spam filters are going to be, right? Everyone has different spam filters. I literally fought with MailChimp for like an hour on Friday to send out our newsletter because it kept sending it to spam because of a YouTube link. And I'm like, I want to include a YouTube video. Why are you doing this to me? And eventually I got it to work, but it still went to spam for some people. Like, there's nothing I can do about their filters. But if I was to send personal emails to those people, I would be able to do it in a completely different way. So although it's a different thing because that's a newsletter, it's how those systems work and how Gmail, for example, reads things coming from those sorts of systems very differently to an email from an individual person.
Yeah, you've got to, send from... There's so many rules around cold emailing. If you're sending from a new account, that's usually not a good idea. You need to kind of warm it up first, make sure that the email gods know about your address and that it's a valid address. Basically. And we've got a little article on the website related to using Launchpad for that, getting the cold email right, and stop emails going to spam if you're interested in that. But there was a comment that you made about creator programs there. So you have do you have a Happy Volcano creator program or a Modulus creator program? And what does that look like?
We have a Happy one.
What does that look like?
So they're very different depending on studios, right? I mean, I worked at Raw Fury previously where we were obviously working on loads of games at once. And so Scott, who's the influencer manager there, and I collaborated on making a Lurkit creator program. So Lurkit, if you don't know what it is a platform that you can use to distribute keys and find streamers and do campaigns and things like that. It's very good if you have a budget. If you don't have a budget for it, it's very expensive. So I'm not using it now, but when we had Raw Fury money, it was great. Those sorts of creator programs exist. They're very good because you can automate a lot of it. You can set up campaigns and let people apply to them, and it all sort of does it for you, which is really, really good. There are also like homebrew creator programs, which is what I call what we're doing. It's a homebrew creator program. We set it up because we wanted to have a way to bring our fans with us from game to game. This isn't the first game we're working on. Before I joined the company, they also did You Suck at Parking in a game called The Almost Gone. You Suck at Parking was actually how I even discovered who this studio was. I saw a friend streaming it and was like, that's sick. I want to work for these people. So bringing people from game to game is a whole different skill, especially if they're completely different genres, right? Like a factory player is very different to a party game racing player. They're very different. So how do you get those creators to go from one to the other? Well, setting up a creator program is a really great way to do that. First of all, it keeps a way of keeping all their like contact details in one place, so you can actually reach out to them when you need to, and you don't have to try and find emails from years ago when you last worked on a game. So from your own organizational point of view, from the person doing the outreach, brilliant for that, because then you can have everybody's email address in one place, and then you can do a mail merge and get an email out to everybody really quickly if you need to, for example. Because once they're already in your creator program, then you can do more generalized emails because they've applied to it, they know you care about them, etc., right? Creator programs are also really, really good for giving back to smaller streamers again, right? So how you encourage a small streamer to play your game when they've never heard of you before, for example, or they're really into for us, like Factorial or Satisfactory, what's going to persuade them to change from those two games, which you can literally play endlessly, to play our game? Well, that's a creative program that will share their streams when they're going live with our audiences, or will give them a chance to do behind the scenes Q&As with the devs that they get to put in a video that only people in the creative program get to do, or getting access to the build 2 weeks before everybody else so they can get an exclusive. Like, there's loads of little things you can do as incentives within a creative program that genuinely gives value to the streamer. And it isn't just like, hey, play my game and give me free exposure, but it's a two-way street. You're giving them something back in exchange for it, and that's really important. I think that gets forgotten a lot. It's like, what can they do for me? Well, no, but what can you do for them as well, right? It really is about that relationship. Without streamers playing games, a lot of indies would never get seen. So, like, value that relationship, and a creative program is a really great way of doing that. I've got a whole section set up in our Discord just for creators that are in that program. There's a section for them to network with each other, because actually factory streamers tend to like actually really quite get on really well and want to do collabs and do things like that. Like, two of the biggest ones are Bits and Total Eclipse. They've become like best mates. They went to each other's like weddings and things like that, and that came out of networking, right? So providing an opportunity for that is really important. Providing direct access to the devs so they can ask questions, so that there's a private stage where they can do Q&As with them, or you can do like secret shares of things that you're working on that only they get to see in advance, and then they can go and tell their audiences about it. There's so many little things you can do. You can also do things like influencer kits for your bigger streamers within that. I'm really honest with our creative program. I say that, like, I put a list out of all the things that could be a benefit for joining it. One of them is merch and things like that. But I also put, we can only send these to some people because we're an indie studio and we don't have endless money. So you can be honest about that. And I think streamers are very understanding that you can't afford to send one to someone that's streaming to 5 people, but you can give them a key and retweet when they're streaming, right? So there are different tiers you can do within incentives within a creator program, but it's all about what you can do for them as well as what they can do for you. And I think that's so important, because those are the people that will champion your studio, that will stream every time you've got a big update, that will come back and show interest about your next game and the trailer you're working on. And those relationships last. And that's what it's about, is building those lasting relationships.
Yeah, it sounds like you really treat them really well, and that's why they keep coming back, because they love seeing the behind the scenes. And the exclusives and the influencer packs and all the rest of things. Is there certain criteria that you have for your creator program? Do you have mostly the bigger creators, or do you have some of the smaller ones as well, or is it kind of a mix?
So when we set up the creator program, we initially put like a minimum amount of average views and things like that on it. That's pretty much gone out the window, if I'm honest, because actually I've learned that it's way more valuable to have people talking about and playing your game in bulk than having a few really big people playing your game. Big, companies like Raw Fury can afford to only let the big people in that are over a certain amount, because there's only one person working on 20 games and they have to give keys out to all of those people. They cannot spend the time working with all the little tiny ones because they just don't have time to do that. If you're doing it yourself and you're working on one game, why can't you spend the time going out with smaller streamers and giving them keys and building those relationships? I think it's so valuable, and they really do care. They really care. And also, little tiny thing, but once they're in your Discord to be in the creator program, they're in your Discord and they're chatting and they're talking and they're driving engagement in your Discord. So when someone else comes into your Discord doesn't look dead. It's interesting. There's things going on in there. There's creators being excited about your game. Like, little things like that do so much more for you than 100 CCV views. That it's so much more important. I know there will be people that disagree with me on that and be like, no, you have to have a minimum of like 100 views or whatever. I don't think that's important. I think people who actually care about the game and the genre, that's what matters.
Yeah, the point there about the people galvanizing the community, I don't know, I've not heard that before, and I think that's really special. I think perhaps Impress needs a creator club as well to, so that there's more going on when we're not just doing these events. It's been a bit more active recently, but
keeping a Discord active is hard work. Like, especially if you start it like we did years before the game came out, right? Like keeping that community active and engaged, especially if it's your first game in that genre and you're doing a Discord specifically for that game. If you haven't got a game to put out for like a year and they haven't actually got it to play and they played the demo months ago and they've got nothing else to talk about, that's really hard to keep that community engaged. How you do that is turn it into an actual community who care about each other and care about what's going on and care what the others are excited about. And that's a skill. Like, that is difficult to do. So having ways of people being interested because creators are talking about it and they're excited about it and they're seeing other people discover the game for the first time, that's really good, because it gets them excited about it again, because they're like, oh yeah, I remember when I did that, I did this instead, and then they'll start talking. So it's a really great way of doing it.
Awesome. Yeah, I will say more sneak impress news is that we passed a security audit this week, so we will be having some variation of a Creator Club feature added in the next couple of months, which is very, very exciting.
That is exciting.
It is exciting. It may not take all of the pain of managing it away, but it will do some of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've already kind of spoke about social media, so I'm going to move on to another hot topic, which is advertising, and specifically Reddit advertising.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? I know Chris Zukowski had an opinion last week. I shared my opinion. I have thought about it since. But yeah, would love to hear your thoughts on what people can, why would you run ads at the moment?
Yeah, so I challenged Ash on this, because I was like, I watched your Chris video and I argue with you, so I want to talk about it. Reddit ads can be absolutely wonderful, but if your store page is not already in a very good position, you're wasting money, because you're sending people to an ugly store page and they're not going to wishlist your game when they get there, right? If you've put the work in and your store page is in a really good place and you're already seeing, and Chris did say this, if you're already seeing 100 to 1,000 wish lists a day, then spending money on ads on Reddit in particular is really worth your time. Reddit, we're doing it right now. We're putting ads out on Reddit in the run up to Next Fest, right? And we're doing it now because although wish lists don't get old, there's something to be said for getting wish lists right before Next Fest, because it shows the algorithm that there's interest in your game right now. And that really does help with your positioning in Next Fest. And Chris said something very similar last week. But if you can get those people from Reddit who have never heard of your game before, who already like that genre, if you're putting it in the right subs and you're optimizing your creatives and you really know what you're doing with those ads, man, does that increase traffic on your store page. Like, we're night and day since we started doing Reddit ads on our store page. It makes such a difference. But those people would not be wishlisting if our store page wasn't already reflecting what we want it to reflect. And that's the caveat that I think is very important. So don't waste the money if you haven't already done the work before. And also, the creatives matter. What you put out on Reddit matters. The best posts on Reddit are the ones that look like they come from a person rather than an ad. So if you're like putting a flashy trailer on there with all your calls to action and all of that, that's probably not going to do as well as if you just show gameplay or talk about a really cool mechanic in your game, or you want to show off something that is really unique about your game that's a hook, for example. That matters a lot more on Reddit. You don't want to be doing what you might do on a YouTube showcase where you put out a really fancy trailer. Not the same thing. It doesn't work. So understanding the platform itself does matter with these ads. A lot of people will think, I've made a beautiful trailer, I'm going to put that on there. And that's a big waste of time. No one's going to click on it because the Reddit audience doesn't want an advert. They want something cool. So you have to understand that to do it. But if you get it right, it can be a gold mine for wish lists.
You heard it here first, folks. Reddit ads can be a gold mine. Just make sure your Steam page is good, your creatives are tested. You can A/B test your creatives. You can A/B test your locations where they're physical global locations where the ads are ran, and you can test the different subreddits as well. So it's a lot. It's kind of a whole separate topic around running ads, but we won't have time for that today. All right, so we're about 2.5 weeks away from Next Fest now. What would you say people should be focusing on during this time? Should they be planning more for the actual week of Next Fest? Should they be purely focused on the creator outreach? Ideally, they have a go-to-market plan where all of this is fleshed out and they know what they're doing. But if they haven't got that, what should they be thinking about between now and the end of Next Fest? And we'll probably go into during Next Fest in a bit.
So first of all, you want to make sure that that demo is as good as it can possibly be, right? So if you haven't got it up and you are absolutely convinced you want to do this one and not the June one, get it up now. Get it up now. Do not wait. Get it up now and get as much feedback as you can in that space before Next Fest, so that you're not launching it in Next Fest and having a load of bugs. Just that is the number one most important thing, is that demo being good, right? That's so important. Everything else is superfluous to that, because if your demo is no good, you're wasting your next fest. Then you want to talk about the creator outreach, because that does make a big difference to how many people are checking out your page, how many people are wishlisting it beforehand, because like I mentioned earlier, like the traffic in the 2-week period before Next Fest does have some influence on where you will be in the Next Fest. Next Fest is going to prioritize the games with the higher wishlist count. Chris said this very clearly last week. About 100k upwards are the ones that are going to get the most sort of exposure during Next Fest. But that doesn't mean there's no exposure to be had if you've got less than that, right? It's about capitalizing on it and understanding what you're doing during that. Make sure you have a plan for the week of Next Fest, and I will talk about what that plan should be in a minute, but thinking about it now so that you're not doing it on the fly during Next Fest is very important. Making sure you have stuff to share, making sure your Steam page looks like the game is alive. I really hate the term dead game, because it drives me up the wall, because games aren't dead. Not every game is a live service, so why does games are dead become this whole thing? But that is what people use. So if your store page was done years ago, you haven't posted on it at all between now and then, fix that now. Get a post out in the time in between now and Next Fest. And this is what I said when I mentioned earlier, don't be focusing on social media, be focusing on Steam, because that's where your audience is, right? That's where they're buying their game. That's where they're looking for games. That's where they actively exist in a space where they want to play games, right? So when someone's on Twitter or TikTok, they're just doom scrolling. They're not there specifically for games, right? They might be a gamer, and so they'll be interested in gaming topics, but they're also at the latest funny thing of someone falling down and getting up. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not the same. Whereas on Steam, they're there with the mindset of, I'm here for a game, or I'm here to look at games. So use that platform. That platform has community tools that you should be using. Your discussion forum, have FAQs pinned in that section, have all your links to your Discords and your social media and all of the other places people can find you in a pinned comment on there. Have a Q&A on there. Have like anything you can think of that is important, like tips and tricks for your game, like things that show you are active on there. Also reply to people. Don't just let the discussions happen and ignore them. You should be in those discussions on Steam. The second you see there is a discussion going on in there, if you can contribute to it. Even if it's like, oh, thanks, that's a really nice comment. Like, I have probably left 1,000 thank yous on Discord on Steam comments, because it shows that I'm paying attention as a developer to what people are looking at. We actually use a service called Feature Upvote for feedback, and I really recommend it. I think it's a really, really good service, where it's basically like a web page that people can go to. They don't have to have an account. They just put their email address in so that they can find it, basically, but it doesn't store it. They can put their feedback or suggestion, or they can vote on ones that are already there, and they can comment on them and upvote. We talk about that on Steam all the time, because we can actively show that we are listening to what people are saying on Steam. And when people put it on Feature Upvote and other people upvote it and show that they care about the same thing, we can respond to that thing and be like, hey, you all talked about this, now we're doing it, and we can talk about that on Steam. So having somewhere, even if you just do it on you don't want to use a service like that and you just want to collect feedback on Steam itself, respond to it, show people that you care about it. If someone posts something that someone else has posted and there's already loads of comments, link them to the previous post and go, hey, we're discussing it over here, bring it over here. You don't have to have like 50 threads of the same thing. Like, make it easier for you, but use that. And then posting on Steam is so important. We post every week if not twice a week, but mostly every week on Steam for Modulus. Some of that is devlogs where we're showing behind the scenes stuff. Some of it is interviews with the developers, whether it's like a deep dive on the audio or the art of the game. Some of it is we'll post if we're streaming. We will do that. We'll post if like a big stream is going on. We post every time we're in a festival of any kind, because Next Fest is not the be all and end all, and probably will not be the one that affects you the most. Go in how to market a game and sign up for the events channel, because it's a goldmine of all the different events that are going on during the week. You want to be posting about all these things, all of them, and you want a different capsule image for every time you post. If you post, Steam has literally put out like documentation recently to be like, stop putting the same picture up every time you post because people aren't clicking on it. You want an individual capsule image for every post you make so that people see that you've made a post and they go and look at it. And you can set it to be featured in their library. So when they're on their library, that post is popping up at the top and they see, oh, that game has done something. I'll click on it. Because every time someone clicks on that post, it tells Steam people care about your game, and Steam is going to surface it to more people. If your page is completely inactive and nobody is clicking on it, nobody has a reason to go to it, that tells Steam nobody cares about this game, and it's going to stop surfacing it as much. It's just how the algorithm works. So every time they have an opportunity to click and they click it, that helps your game get seen. So keep posting, keep your audience engaged on Steam. Sorry, I wax lyrical about it because it's so important.
I was going to say, take a breath, Jarvs. That's incredibly comprehensive. I mean, what can I add to that? Probably not very much. I mean, that's a masterclass in how to use Steam. I'm always saying people should post more Steam news, but yeah, the thing about the images, make sure you've got different images. I do that subconsciously with Impress stuff without really thinking about it. Having the sticky FAQs and things like that. Making sure that there's like, if you're doing certain streams or events during Next Fest, make sure that's like a pin thing. All of that was just amazing, and I think it's almost a shame that that's going to be like an hour into the video on the recording, because I know people aren't going to watch past 20 minutes, but they really should. Amazing. There was a question from the audience I want to address, which was,
what
how
kind of content? Oh, okay. Yep. You can go. I'll go to the other one after.
Okay, which was around how do you sort of react to the negative comments and reviews or generally harassment?
Yeah, there's two sides to that, because, and I think he was in the chat just now, but Nowhere Near Berlin is another community manager. He's gone now, but he did a really good podcast talking about this the other day, is that most of the time when someone gives a negative review in particular, and it's actually more than one word or more than a line, that's because those people really wanted your game to be something they would love. Right? Most of the time it is because they bought this game and it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. Now, either that's your marketing was mis-selling your game, or your game isn't really what it needs to be. Listen to those people, because those people will champion the hell out of your game if you address those issues and you change them. Like, it's so important. And we've literally done this with our demo, right? So our demo, when we first put it out, our tutorial wasn't great. It was too hand-holdy. It wasn't respecting the knowledge of factory players enough, right? And that was a common thing that came up in negative reviews. And we responded with the developer account to those reviews to say thank you, because genuinely that feedback makes a big difference. And we weren't just saying thank you. We were like, this point is really good. I have fed this back to the development team. We're going to be working on this, etc., etc. Because when we then did those things and updated the demo, I can go back to those people and be like, hey, we listened to you. We've changed it. Try it again. And they will go back, and then they will be the ones that go and tell all their friends that this game actually cares and that actually listens, and they will champion the hell out of your game. This is something that I was a teacher before I worked in games, and my biggest thing as a teacher was fighting fire with water, because too often it's very easy to take negative reviews personally and get your back up, right? And to feel upset and rejected. And if you're like me and you've got ADHD, you probably get a little bit of rejection sensitivity disorder, and it like sets you off, and you're like, you need to be able to turn that off and not take it personally and understand where those reviews are coming from and treating the reason for the review, not the review itself, right? So why did someone make that comment? Is it because they wanted this game to be better? And is what they're saying valid? If it is, do something about it, right? If you can't do something about it because you don't have the knowledge or it's not within scope, be honest about that and reflect that and say, hey, I totally agree with you. I would love to be able to do this. If we ever get scope to do it, maybe it's something we can come back and look at, right? Don't just ignore it and bury your head in the sand. It's the worst thing you can do. However, there will be some people that are just A-words for the sake of it, right? They'll just be horrible for the sake of it. Sometimes that happens if you are unfortunate enough to fall into a category of game where people target it for being too woke, for example. You might get some horrible people just being harassing and awful. Don't even think about them. Don't even think about them, right? If they contact you on social media, just block them. Just delete them. Kick them out your Discord. They are not saying anything that is worth your time. They are just moaning for the sake of moaning, and 9 times out of 10 they haven't actually played your game or know anything about what's going on. They're just being negative, right? So just don't respond to those people. Look for the people who have valid criticism and respond to them, because it really does show you care about your game and you care about the opinions of the people playing it. Hopefully that answered.
Mic drop. We've addressed that. That's great. We're still 2 weeks out from Next Fest. There was a question from Gabus, which was what kind of content should they be posting in their Steam discussions around this time, if we're 2 weeks before Next Fest. And then we'll get on to talking about what can we do during the Next Fest week. Yeah.
So in not the discussions, but in the actual posts and news announcement section yourself, that's where you can do like really cool little behind the scenes windows into why you've made certain decisions in the demo, right? So talk about the demo in particular, because that's the thing you're showing off in Next Fest right now. Talk about either, if you hopefully already have it out, the feedback you've had and how you've addressed it and what you've done with that. If you haven't done that so far, talk about why your demo is awesome and why people should be playing it. What's the gameplay loop? Because that's what people on Steam care about. They don't care about the narrative until they're playing the game. Unless it's a visual novel and that's the only thing that really matters. Most of the time, they're not there for that. They're there to find out what the game actually is and what they'll be doing in the game and what the loop is of that game. Chris has said this before, but like when people go to your Steam page, they usually give it about 30 seconds. And if they can't understand what the game is in 30 seconds, they bounce, right? So your post should be mirroring that mindset of like, everything I talk about should show people what they're doing in this game and why this game is different from the other games. So what in your demo is worth their time? How did you make the decisions to put that thing in that demo? Like, why are you showing off this bit and not something else, for example? Or is there something really cool that comes out of the demo that they have to like cliffhanger wait for in the main game, for example? Like all of these little things are really important. Like for us right now, our demo is not going to have creative mode in for Next Fest. We've taken it out to focus on the core campaign, because right now we're focusing on factory players rather than creative players, and we wanted to make that aspect of the demo as good as it could possibly be. But that doesn't mean I can't talk about creative mode, that it's coming in the main game, because I can be like, oh, in the demo, you can do this, this, and this creatively. If you like that, in the main game, we're going to have this whole other mode that you can play with, right? So really highlight those things in your demo, and then anything that's like a hook to get them interested after the demo, you can start trickling that in a bit like a soap opera cliffhanger ending, basically. That's how I try to think of those posts. Ash's face then was like, oh, soaps.
I do watch a lot of bad telly, so not necessarily willingly. Amazing. So that's what we can post about before Next Fest. It's all about teasing what's in the demo and what comes next behind the scenes, all the hooks, all that good stuff. Chris Sikowski's opinion last week was that once you hit Next Fest, you should chill out. That's what he said. Chill out. Don't worry about it. You got your baseline visibility. Your first day, your second day will either go bad or good, and then you'll go from there. But we might have different opinions from that. What should people be doing during the week of Next Fest to improve their chances of success?
So It's not that I disagree with Chris on that, because he's right, right? Everything you do before the next fest is what matters the most, right? That unfortunately is just it. Day 1 and day 2, where Steam is testing if people care about your game, like every time it shows your game to a person during next fest, if they don't click on it, that tells Steam it doesn't need to show it to as many people, right? So those 2 days are really a test to Steam to see if people care about your game. So having a very good capsule art beforehand and a very good short description in now is very important in preparation for that. During next fest, there are things you can do though, right? Like, I get what he's saying. Like, the main bulk of your work for next fest is done by the time next fest begins, but all of the little things that I just said in the run up to next fest still count during next fest, right? So reminding creators, like sending out an email to all the people you've already contacted and being like, hey, just a reminder, the demo is out and we are in next fest, like don't forget to check it out. That doesn't hurt, because creators are human, things happen, they forget, they've had 20 emails from 20 other people doing similar games. Like, do something to be like, hey, I'm still here, hi, me. Also, one thing that I really like to do during next fest is, if I know streamers are going to be playing on certain days, I'll do a post on Steam where I'll be like, hey, you can check out our game on all of these different channels. Like, Monday, Bits is playing it on this channel, and on Thursday, this guy's playing it on this channel, or expect a video on this. It's, again, giving back to those creators, because it's showing off their channels, but it's also showing the audience who want to see the game in action a way to do that, right? You obviously should have a Steam stream up during next fest. I don't think that was covered last week. It might have been, but I didn't hear it covered. Get a Steam stream recorded now. It's not really a stream because it's a let's play. Let's face it, it's not live, so it's not a stream. But I'm being pedantic there. But have a stream. Usually it's better if it is a developer, because people want to see the devs playing the game and being passionate about it. If you are not good on camera and not good at selling your game, it is okay to get someone else to play it, as long as they don't play it for the first time on that stream, because that stream should be about selling the game, not about experiencing the game for the first time. That's really important during next fest. So if you want a creator to do it, make sure they've played it beforehand, they know what they're doing, and they can answer like any questions that an audience might have in advance, because they want to be, even though it's not live, they want to be anticipating what the audience might be asking and being able to give that as a natural thing during the stream, which is a skill. Not everybody can do that. Having that running all the way through next fest is very important, because it means people can see gameplay outside of a trailer. A trailer can trick people. It can make people think it's gameplay and it's not. It can be cinematic. There's all sorts of things you can do with a trailer. You can't do that with a stream. People know when they look at that, someone's playing that game. I can see what this game is, right? So have that up on there. Do that in advance. Have it ready. Have your banners either side of it ready. You can put those in Steam right now. Make sure they have a call to action on them. Remind people to wishlist and follow. Not enough people ask people to follow the game on Steam. That's really important, because the followers are the ones that will get notified when you do a post.
Yep.
And every time those followers click on that post, it tells Steam people are interested in that game. So those followers are really, really helpful. So get your call to action on the side of your stream, wishlist and follow on Steam. Really important. Not enough people do that. And then also have a devlog ready to go in the middle of next fest. It can be any devlog you want. It can be about a very specific thing. It can be an art-based one. It can be a mechanical-based one. It doesn't matter. If you're passionate about it and you have something to say about it, and it's a devlog that you want to share, put it up during next fest. It doesn't have to be a video one. It can just be a written one. I tend to do both. I usually quite often do a video and also do a version during next fest. I'm putting out the second part of our audio deep dive during next fest for us, because I put out part 1 a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to put out part 2 during next fest. So hopefully all those people that cared about part 1 will want to come back during next fest. So I've planned it. This is what I mean. You don't want to do it just during the week. Get it planned now, what you're going to do, so that it makes sense.
You've got a part 2.
That's it.
It's another cliffhanger right there.
Yep, part two.
So if you're looking at getting a stream up on your page, I know there's a tool that's called RoboStreamer that helps you with that.
Yeah.
If you are not aware of that, do check that out. That will be very helpful. And I think it's fairly cheap as well. It's like $1 a day or something. So
It's really, most people use it.
Yeah. So we've covered before and during Next Fest. What should people be thinking about after Next Fest? Obviously, there's a whole post Next Fest period. People are joining Next Fest closest to their game launch. Maybe we talk about like the week after and then the longer picture. What can people be doing?
Yeah, the long tail. So this is where like Chris's advice on doing the very last Next Fest before your launch is important, because what you don't want to do is do Next Fest and then launch like 8 months later, because you could have done a closer Next Fest and had people still talking about the game and still caring about the game in that time. Equally, you don't want to do what some people suggested you do a while ago, which is launch straight after Next Fest, because that period is lots of people think to do that, and it's you get drowned. You just get drowned during that period. And also, there's kind of a tale of Next Fest where like Next Fest is so big now that there are so many demos to play that creators are still playing the demos for like 2-3 weeks afterwards, because there's just so many. So if you like drop a launch during that period, it could get buried quite easily, to be honest. So you need to think about that beforehand. And I would say you should really know your launch date or your intended launch date before you go into Next Fest. You've got that in mind. You know what the goal is. You know what you're aiming towards, so that you can plan that time in between to keep the content coming out, so it doesn't suddenly go ghost town and go quiet. There's a talk already on your channel about launch and leave. So I did that at the Impact last year, about people that like do a great big event and then they just ghost and forget it, and the community's like, what's going on with the game? Like, no one's talking about it anymore. You want to have a plan in your head of devlogs that you can put out, even if it's one a month. At least have that, like, bare minimum. Have a couple more devlogs ready to put out in the 3 to 4 weeks afterwards, and then again the same time again. Don't lose communication with the creators that played your demo. First of all, thank them. Send them an email and thank them. Again, depending on how many of them are doing it, how time consuming that is completely different. But if you get some that really get a lot of traction for you and there are loads of people coming to your store page from it, send them an individual email to thank them and show that you actually watched that video and you actually care about it, and like you're grateful for what they did. Not enough people do that. Not enough people thank creators for their time, because essentially they are marketing your game for you. So show that appreciation, and then don't lose that contact in between that and launch. So you want to remind them that your game exists frequently before launch. As soon as you're able to tell them what the launch date is, if you've got a trailer in part of an event, obviously you've got embargoes to keep, and you need to wait for those events to do that because you promised them exclusivity. That's fine. If you haven't done that and you can talk about release date, say you're dropping your release date trailer during Next Fest, for example, you want to keep reminding them that launch date is coming and all of the things you're doing in between to make sure you're ready for that launch date. So we heard this about the Next Fest. We understood what you guys thought about this. This was really interesting. We're going to do this before launch. We're going to polish this next. We're actually working on this right now. Don't forget about us. We're coming up. Make sure you've got us in your schedule for this date. Like, keep reminding them because they need that. It's really important that you keep doing that. And actually, I'm just going to say this before I forget it. Trailer wise, we're actually like, trailers shouldn't be, again, a one and done trailer. You should have more than one trailer, right? So in between Next Fest and launch, you should have another trailer coming out. And that should be either your launch date reveal, or obviously you need a launch trailer as well, right? So there should be at least one, maybe two trailers that you're working on in between Next Fest and launch. Most of you would already be working on that, or at least planning what that trailer will look like. If you're not, start doing that now, because if you are launching within the next 2 to 3 months, that should already be in production, if not about to be in production. And finding other festivals to be a part of, because I cannot stress this enough. The more festivals you are in, the more visibility your game gets, the more Steam cares about it, and the better it does. It's just the way it works. And sometimes your game will be in a very specific genre that will do very well in a very focused festival. So for us, it's Automation Fest. Steam does Automation Fest. All of the factory players go to that. They all know that's where all of the games are going to be to do with that genre. That's more important for us than Next Fest. If your game is a cozy game, around Christmas, for example, Secret Mode do Cozy Quest. Wholesome Games, for example, do all of their events throughout the year. All of these different events are equally as important as Next Fest. Don't do Next Fest and forget about events. Keep applying. Apply, and also apply post-launch as well. Coming back to that talk that Dan has so kindly posted in there, don't just think about marketing before launch. You've got to carry on marketing after launch if you want your game to have a long tail. And I go back to Domekeeper on this. Domekeeper is the game I mostly worked on at Raw Fury. It's one of my favorite games, genuinely. It's why I wanted to work at Raw Fury. Renee, who's also done a knowledge share, Haberman, who is Domekeeper's god, basically, he is the master of keeping a community interested in a game after launch. If you go and look at the store page on Domekeeper on Steam, their posts are so consistent, so valuable, so well loved by the community, and he keeps that up for years after launch. They launched 3-4 years ago now, and they're still putting out updates. They still are one of the best selling games for Raw Fury. They're incredible. So that marketing and all the festivals they apply for, all of the events they do post launch, are as important as the stuff you did before launch. So don't forget that.
So a lot to do post Next Fest then. Yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah, we should probably get Renee back again to talk about community, because it sounds like he's doing really good work.
He's the master. He is the master. He's so good. He's I think one of the best developers at being in touch with his community directly. And he's a tiny team. There's maybe 6 of them altogether, including contractors that work at Bip and Bits. Maybe it's bigger now for PVKK, but it's not a big team. And they find the time to commit to that community, and it works. It works. That game is so successful because they have a direct line to their community.
So we've got a few things. Leave your demo up, appreciate your creators, share their content in your Steam news, and thank them. I will say that thanking them is actually the reason that our product Coverage Bot initially got built, because I wanted to actually see who was talking about the games I was building, and I wanted to send him a thank you. I'm glad to hear that other people are doing this too, and really appreciating the people that are helping them grow.
I literally use Coverage Bot for that, by the way. I do that. I use it, I see who's playing, and I make a list, and I say thank you to those people. So
amazing. I was going to ask you if you had anything else to share from your experience of Next Fest, but I have a feeling, we have a few minutes left. We should probably go through some rapid fire questions. And so the first is, any tips on finding playtesters?
Yeah, so there's 2 ways to do this, right? One way, well, actually there's 3 ways to do it that are really valuable. One way is to use Steam's playtesting function. The thing with Steam is that it goes out, you can send it out to lots of people to playtest it, but you don't have any control over who it goes to. Steam you can register your interest to be a playtester on Steam, and then you as a developer go, okay, send it to 75,000 people. Steam will randomly pick those 75,000 people off the people that have registered interest. You don't have any control over that, which can be really beneficial if you want to do a really big playtest and you want to get lots of varied feedback. But equally for us, right now, we want really focused feedback on people who are going to play the game for a really, really long period of time. So we are using our Discord server for playtest, and we're using the people that we already know really, 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 really care about this genre and have an interest in it. And we're doing a private Discord playtest there. I've also just found a new bot called Keybot that I can give a bunch of keys to and set a command, and then anyone in the Discord, or you can set it to a private channel so only certain people with a role can access it, can get a key. So you don't even have to manually send them out. You can just do it via Discord bot and automate it. So you can control who within your Discord gets those, or you can let everybody have it. But Discord's a very, very valuable tool for that. And then also there are platforms that exist for playtesting. I can't remember the name of the one off the top of my head.
Playtester.io, I think, is one.
.io, that's what I was trying to, I couldn't remember the dot. But yeah, there are platforms for it as well. So you can use those too. I think Discord playtests are worth their weight in gold, because those people are more likely to actually give you feedback, because it's no good if loads of people playtest it, but like 10% of them give the feedback. The feedback is the whole point of the playtest, right? And your analytic tools behind the scenes of seeing where people drop off and why they've dropped off, you want to be able to ask those people, okay, X amount of people stop playing at this point in the tutorial. I'm going to go into the Discord and be like, okay, yo, why did you all stop playing here? Let me know. And I want to hear that feedback. I'm not going to be able to do that on Steam in the same way that I can with a private Discord server. So I think that's really important. And also post about it everywhere. Like, tell everybody about it. This week we started our playtest on Thursday. I posted about it last week and I posted about it on Monday. Our Discord had loads of new members this week because I was posting about it elsewhere. I did a TikTok about it. Actually, Aurora, our new intern, made the TikTok and I put it out. I did post on Steam. I did post everywhere. And that's brought people over to the Discord.
That's it. Yeah, it's one of your big marketing beats, so treat it as such. Right. Well, that is actually there are a few more questions in the chat, but I do think
we'll try.
I think most of them have actually been answered already by you earlier on. So what we'll do is we'll tell people to go to the recording. So yes, thank you so much, Jarvs. It's been a really, really good time, actually. Very, very insightful. Is there anything that you would like to promote or share before we sign off? Maybe it's modulousgame.com or maybe it's something else.
I will say, if you do have questions that haven't been answered, leave them in the YouTube video when that's up. I will check it and I will come back and answer anything I didn't have time to. So you can do that. But please wishlist Modulus. I genuinely freaking adore this game, and I am not a factory player. You can tell if I don't like something because I'm not very good at faking it. This game, I think, is something really special, and I want people to wishlist it. So do wishlist it. If you're interested, join the Discord. It's just discord.gg/modulus. Really easy. That little vanity tag makes all the difference when you want to share a Discord server. And then, follow me on socials because I post a lot about indie marketing. LinkedIn is the big one. Jarvs Tasker on LinkedIn, or Jarvducer on everything else because I'm obsessed with Hades.
We'll get those posted in the chat and we'll get those linked in the YouTube video for the recording. Amazing. Thank you so much, Jarvs. Next week, we do have Robbie from Pirate PR, as I said earlier. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're subscribed. And if I mentioned a few Impress products throughout this video. If you're interested in those, obviously Launchpad is free. And if you're interested in CoverageBot, the thing that tells you when streamers play your game, etc., then you can use the code NEXTFEST10. And with that, I sign off today. We send huge thanks to Jarvs again. And I hope to...
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I hope to see you again on here, within...
I mean, I'll be in the chat next week when Robbie's talking, because dude's a goldmine of knowledge, so I'll be here then.
All right. Thank you so much, Jarvs, and speak to everyone again soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.